Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video. And before we get started, I just wanted to mention that you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So now that we got that out of the way, what I wanted to do today was give my recap of week 3 of the preseason, the New York Jets versus the New Orleans Saints. Some positives and some negatives from this one. The Jets lose, obviously, but in the preseason, that's not what we're really looking about. During the regular season, yes, I'll go through a little bit more and break stuff down and really get into these things, but it's more the storylines that you're looking at if you are a Jets fan. In week 3 of the preseason, we did see a lot of Sam Darnold, which is good because he looked pretty solid for the 3rd week in a row, and he had a makeshift offensive line in front of him. We'll talk about that later on. He was 8 of 13, which is 61.5%. He had a touchdown and 97 yards passing. He looked really solid for, like I said, the 3rd week in a row. And he was able to escape the pressure, which there's a lot up the middle, so he was able to roll out. He took some big hits, which made things a little bit scary if you're a New York Jets fan, but all in all, he played really well again in the preseason, and we shouldn't see him at all in week 4, and it should be just getting ready for Buffalo at that point. I think my favorite throw was the one to Robbie Anderson on the left side. Was it slightly underthrown on the deep ball? Maybe a little bit. But the point is that they have an unbelievable connection, and I think it's pretty obvious that Anderson is WR1 on this team. He is the best wide receiver that this team has to offer all around. Jamison Crowder might get a ton of reps from the slot, but all in all, Anderson on the outside, who has again showed that he's more than just a deep threat, is probably the biggest piece of this Jets wide receiving core, and he is playing for a contract, so expect a big year out of him. My second positive takeaway is Ty Montgomery. Now, I know he had a fumble in this game and turned the ball over, which is what you don't want, but he has really shown how good he can be as RB2. He is a very solid running back, and not only out of the backfield as a runner, but as a receiver. I mean, we saw what he was able to do on that touchdown in the red zone, and this is going to give Sam just another target. And the biggest thing with the New York Jets offense the last few years was, yeah, they had some pretty nice pieces, like Bilal Powell's a nice piece, Robbie Anderson, and Enunwa, those are nice pieces, but they lacked depth after that. You had maybe 2 or 3 guys that you were comfortable targeting. Now that list improves immensely when you add a guy like Montgomery, who is the second running back. You have Le'Veon Bell in front of him. Chris Herndon, when he comes back from suspension, is going to be a big piece of this offense. The Jets have a lot of things working for them, and RB2 is definitely one of them. My third positive takeaway is the kicking situation. Taylor Bertil was 2 of 2, hitting on a 56-yarder. He missed an extra point last week, but is this finally the kicker the New York Jets need? Maybe, but the kicking situation did take a step in the right direction. If he missed an extra point or if he missed the easy field goal, then that would be on my negative side. But if he is able to capitalize on this week and potentially next week too, he could be the kicker going forward. I still personally would want Matt Bryant. He is still sitting around doing nothing. I would get him on the horn. But as for now, the kicking situation has seemed to take a step forward, which is definitely a positive for the New York Jets. Now over to the negative side, and unfortunately there was a lot of them. So my first one is that the corners were just absolutely awful, and it shows that the Jets really lack corner depth. Poor Tavon Campbell got cooked all night by Michael Thomas. Well, I shouldn't really say all night. He only played on that one drive, but he still got cooked by Michael Thomas on multiple plays on that first drive. Did not look good at all. Perry Nickerson didn't really do all that much in a lot of playing time, so he is a fringe roster player at this point. Alex Brown might have been the best of the bunch on the island of misfit toys is what I'm calling the Jets secondary group, because it's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of veterans or some guys who are just picked up off the scrap heap trying to figure out what this core is going to be. Obviously, if it all depends on what Johnson's health is. If he's healthy, he is number 1. Roberts is going to be number 2, and then Poole as your 3rd slot corner. If Johnson isn't healthy, well, good luck to you, because this doesn't look good at all. What we also saw was the O-line depth really lacked. The Jets were without their 3 interior starters. There's no Assembly, there's no Khalil, no Winters, so the backups came in and they didn't look good. Sam was running for his life early in the game, was still able to make some plays, but took some hits. They didn't look good. Osemele obviously is going to be an upgrade at left guard. Khalil, got to love him at center. He's going to be a solid piece. And at right guard, Winters is an okay starter. I just am curious to see if this group is ready to go in week 1 and if there's going to be any chemistry at all because they haven't really played together as a starting unit. So that is something that scares me a little bit. Another negative, I guess, would be Enunwa and Powell are both kind of quiet. I know I mentioned both of those guys earlier. I like both of them a lot, and I know their roles are going to be a little bit diminished this year, but they could still be effective. Enunwa's thing is staying healthy, and I guess Powell's is too, but Powell's really going to be RB3 on this team. But they're both effective players, but they didn't really do all that much in the reps that they were able to get, especially Enunwa dropped a couple of passes last week, and in training camp altogether, he's dropped some passes. I would like to see more out of those two because I know how productive they could be. So that would be, I guess, a slight negative. And then my last nitpick, but really the Saints had this too, was the penalties. There were a ton of penalties last night. That really took away from the experience watching. The preseason's hard enough to watch, but when there's a ton of penalties involved, it just makes it that much harder. So we only have one more week of preseason, and we're not going to see any of the starters in week 4, so I don't know what my video is going to look like next week after that game, but be sure to stick around and subscribe to the channel if you want to see that one, if you're not already subscribed. So that's going to do it on this week's video. Throughout the week, be sure to stick around for more content. I'm going to be talking all different things Jets this week, so make sure to keep it right here on the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. You can follow along with me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY, and I'll talk to you guys next time.